ಬರಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅವಾಗ್ಲೇ
ಬೇಡ
ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು
ಬಂದು ಕುತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜನ ಸರ್ ಅದೇನು ಅಡ್ವೊಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ
ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಟಾಗಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಮೌಸ್ ಜಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಟಾಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಟಾಗಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ತಿರುಗಿಸದೇ ಬೇಡ ಇದ್ರೆ YouTube already live. Already live with empty chair. Already live with empty chair. Starting.
Sure. ಅಲ್ಲ ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ದಿನ ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ ಬಂತಲ್ಲ
ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ
ಇವಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಂಕಲ್ ಇರ್ಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದು ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ನೋಡಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಹಲೋ ಹಲೋ 1 2 3 ಚೆಕ್ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ನೇಮ್ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಹೆಸರು ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to World Environment Day celebrations, Ramaiah Anthem. Before we begin, I would request everyone to please stand for the Ramaiah National Anthem.
గణనాథుని శారద సత్కవులను సహజ యోగి మునులన్ సురులన్ దేవ బ్రాహ్మణ ధన్యుని सकलान्तर्यामी हरिणी चाल भजन्तुम्
ज्ञान विज्ञान विद्या विनय भूषण
रामय्य समूह संस्थान
ज्ञान विज्ञान विद्या विनय भूषण रामय्य समूह संस्थान तारे निहारिते आगले ಈ ಮಾಲಿಕೆ ಜಯವೆನ್ನುವ ಈ ಸಂಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ದ್ರಷ್ಟಾರರು ಕಟ್ಟಿದ ಕನಸಿನ ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯವಿದು
ದೀಪದೊಳು ಪ್ರದೀಪಗಳ ಬೆಳಗುವ ಶ್ರದ್ಧಾ ಸ್ಥಾನವಿದು
ಅರಿವಿನ ದಿಗಂತದಾಚೆಗೆ ಜಿಗಿಯುವ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲವಿದು ಗೃಹ ಗೃಹದಲ್ಲಿ ಗೃಹ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣಕ್ಕೆ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನದ ಸೋಪಾನವಿದು ಮಿತಿಯಿಲ್ಲದ ಅಮಿತ ಜ್ಞಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧನ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರವಿದು ಪ್ರತಿಭೆಯ ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾಡಲು ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿಯ ಕೇಂದ್ರವಿದು ಅಜ್ಞಾನದ ಕತ್ತಲೆ ನೀಗುವ ಸುಜ್ಞಾನದ ಸೂರ್ಯನ ರಶ್ಮಿದು
ಜಗದೋದ್ಧಾರದ ಹೊಂಗನಸನು ಹೊತ್ತಿದ ಅರಿವಿನ ತಾಣವಿದು
ಅರಿವಿನ ಹಣತೆಯು ಬೆಳಗನ್ನು ಚೆಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಸಂಖ್ಯಾತ ಕಿರಣಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲೆಡೆ ಹೊರಹೊಮ್ಮಿವೆ ಜಯವೆನ್ನುವ ಈ ಸಂಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ
I would like to request Dr.Babitha Rajan to give us the welcome address for today.
A very warm afternoon to all our present here. The earth is what we all have in common. With this code, on behalf of Ramaiah College, I would like to welcome all the dignitaries, my fellow colleagues, and my dear students to be part of this year's World Environment Day. It's a day on which we spread awareness about the environment and the need to conserve it too. At the same time, it is essential to advocate for a greener environment and conservation of nature. This year's theme being Only One Earth is a campaign for World Environment Day, emphasizing on collective transformative action on a global scale to celebrate, protect, and restore our planet. It is quite simple. As we conserve the environment today, it's for the future generations. World Environment Day serves as a reminder to protect the environment at all costs. So let us take this day as a perfect opportunity to make people aware of the issues and how we can contribute to saving it. So on that note, I once again welcome all those who are gathered here and request you all to remember the gifts that and count the blessings that the nature has endured upon us. Thank you all and welcome once again.
Thank you, ma'am, for that welcome address. Before we begin the program, I would like to inaugurate this program, as we do with all Ramaiah activities, by inviting the dignitaries onto this dais and by watering of plants. we request the Vice Principal Madam and Medha to please come forward to water every of the plants. This will signify the inauguration of the today's ceremony.
Ramaiah Anthem. One of the temples. Yeah, I can't see that.
I would also like to invite our judges, Mr. Shivraj sir and Vinay Prabhu sir as well, to please come forward to watering the plant.
Yes.
Babitha Rajan. Now I would like to request Ms. Veela Sharaf to please give us the introduction to World Environment Day and the significance of this day and why we are celebrating.
World Environment Day. So this is actually my first time celebrating World Environment Day here at Ramaiah. So along with trying to include as many students and faculty just to sort of spread awareness about it, I kind of had to do the same for myself by organizing and helping the entire club come together and carry out this day. So to include as many people as we could, we tried to have a wide variety of events, sort of along the lines that we could really take any sort of aspect in life and kind of highlight the importance of the environment and how it plays a role in our day-to-day activities and how we can really focus on the importance of our theme, which was an environmental issue that we face today. So we had different events like our photography competition, our poetry competition, even a Limerick competition, so as to kind of put a little more humor into this day as well. And also, we wanted to inaugurate our e-waste bin, which is a new project of the Eco Club where we can have a standardized collection over the campus, which will have a more beneficial effect because there are so many detriments if we don't segregate e-waste. And we also had another project which is increasing green cover around campus. So we are providing even more, I would say around 20 plants to the hostels to just sort of spruce up and kind of really involve everyone in our campus to share in this day and share in trying to make the environment a better, more breathable place. And so, yeah, those are some of the events that we have planned. We also are planning on having a guest speaker come to have a talk on afforestation, which is a more frequently spoken about and very important event that's happening in today's day and age. So he will be able to shed more light on that. And so, yes, I hope you enjoy today's program.
So now, my name is Vishnu. I'm the student president of Eco Club. I would like to give you all brief report on Eco Club activities which have been conducted from the past 1 year. So many of you might not be known, but our college's Eco Club has been since the year 2015. However, at that time it was mainly limited to a few students and few departments. From the year 2019, 2020 onwards, when it actually became a full-fledged full-fledged student involvement was there, and we had a widespread campus involvement as well. From the very beginning, Eco Club's student initiatives have been very simple. The main thing is, if you join Eco Club as a student, you will get a chance to express your voice, and you'll also get a chance to make the environmental impact which you want to make on a campus level. And hopefully, using that, it'll inspire you to make changes in the outside world as well. Ramaiah is always about inspiring students to become better citizens and to make a difference in the future as well. So this is a very basic way of starting that and kindling the environmental fire in each one of us. So in this past year, I'll briefly talk about the activities which Eco Club has been involved in. One of the first projects which we talked about was waste segregation. Because we noticed that waste segregation happens in few hospitals and few parts of our campus, but not in all hospitals. So we wanted to have waste segregation be conducted throughout all hospitals. So what we did was we launched a pilot project in nearly Boys Hospital, where now we have wet waste and dry waste segregation, and all the wet waste is taken to an in-house composter, which is located behind Gate 5 in Ramaiah. And that compost is further used for fertilizing our plants, which are located throughout campus and also for Ramaiah's different campuses as well. The second project which the Eco Club has been launching was called Improving our Campus and Hostel Green Cover. So as we all know, Ramaiah is a very green campus. Wherever you see there are trees, and especially in the month of August, if you walk by Sampangi trees, you'll be fragranced by the perfume of those trees. Something. So what we wanted to do was, we noticed that outside the green cover is there, but inside the hospitals, why not have green cover as well? In fact, if people the cover green itself has been shown to improve mood. And if people are surrounded by green cover, when they go out as well, they're more likely to include plants in their daily life. So what we did for that, we started distribution of set up pilot project where 20 plants per month would be distributed to Triveni Hospital. We'll monitor those plants, monitor how they're taken care of, and if it's a success, we distribute more and more. So far, we've successfully distributed around 40 plants to Triveni and Triveni Girls Hostel. This month also we're planning on distributing 20 more, and we eventually plan to distribute 80 to 100 plants to completely fill that hostel with green cover. That is our goal. We also had one more project in Eco Club called the Social Media Initiative. The Social Media Initiative was mainly about increasing awareness about certain topics which might not reach the news, which we want students to be aware of. We want students to, we all know the students follow social media platforms like Instagram and such. So that if we have a social media platform where we can share about those activities and also what Eco Club is doing to contribute towards the environment, that would be good. So we launched that. We have an Instagram profile for Eco Club. We have a good amount of followers, and Eco Club is managing that as well, spreading news whenever there's environmental issues. Another project which we had launched is called Solar Panel Project. So the solar panel project is a bit of a lengthy project. Right now we're at a pilot stage where we've already conducted the base surveys for solar panels. Our eventual goal is to make Ramaiah actually a carbon neutral campus. It's going to take many years, but we know that having first dependency on renewable energy and then slowly by reducing our carbon impact, we can successfully make Ramaiah a carbon neutral campus. So in terms of that, we finished off the proposals, finished off the survey. Right now we're at the vendor stage, where we contact different vendors for solar panels, and we're planning to submit our final proposal by the end of the next 2 weeks. Along with this, we also had many new members join Ramaiah Eco Club. So within every month we have student meetings. So we plan on that in the next student meeting we're going to get more ideas and more projects. And again, with our goal to make Ramaiah a carbon neutral campus, we're sure that we'll achieve this within the next few years. Our students are very creative, so we have no doubt in that. Thank you. I would like to invite Mr. Surya to announce of the poetry and limerick winners for this is poetry and limerick competitions.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Surya, and I'm and I'm currently in first year MBBS. So we recently had, as part of the World Environment Day initiative, we had poetry contest as well as the limerick contest. The winners of the poetry contest are. The first prize goes to Pranav Varun. The second prize goes to Our World by Neha GT.
We would like to call upon Medha ma'am. We would like to call upon Medha ma'am to give the prize to Pranav. Do one of the poetry ma'am. Give the Hari Sigam.
So this poem is was right. You read the poetry and you mentioned no one. Right.
Second prize, Neha GP. Like Medha ma'am to give the.
You always right. Very nice. Congratulations.
The best limerick winner is Prakriti Kumar.
And like Shalini ma'am to Pradeep.
It is our pleasure to have Miss Yumna here with us to help us celebrate this work. A few words about Miss Yumna. Miss Yumna is the Vice President and founding trustee of the Art Mantram Foundation, which promotes patronage of art. As part of the organization, she's done incredible work in curating art and poetry events like the Glass House Poetry Festival and Kalotsava. She has also worked across Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America through her associations with the AIESEC, participating and leading youth conferences, and currently works as a consultant for Good Cooperation in the UK. It is our pleasure to have you here and help us celebrate this world environment.
Mr. Surya, thank you, Mr. Evening, sir. And Vanantara ma'am as well. She's not here with us right now, but she was also one of the poetry judges. So thank you to ma'am as well. Now I'd like to invite Ms. Divyanshi to announce the photography winners. And I would also like to invite Mr. Nagabhaskar, our esteemed faculty, to hand out the prize for the photography.
Hello everyone. It is rightly said by someone that a great photograph is one that fully expresses what one feels, in the deepest sense of what is being photographed. So now I'll announce the winners. The first prize goes to Dr. Sama. And I will request Dr. Sama to tell something about the picture as well.
Can you
Yeah, please picture of the life. Is there any caption? Because last time they
Dr. Samat, had you put some caption for this?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to caption my photo as king without crown. So the bird we see in the picture is Asian king vulture. The this was photographed in Nagarole on a sunny afternoon in March when we were doing what everyone wants to do in Nagarole, that is try to photograph tigers. But we saw this one unsightly bird making these extremely shrill noises. And to our surprise, we realized that this is, in fact, a Asian king vulture, which is known for its red head and white sort of appearance. Now, why I submitted this photo for this competition is we had to talk about an environmental issue which is going on, but this is somewhat of a lesser known issue that king vultures are only about 3% of what the population was earlier. They're nearly extinct. Not just king vultures, all vultures. And it's because of one simple thing we did. It's because of habitat loss, vultures shifted their natural eating habits to started feeding on cattle carcasses. And as our population grew and our pressure on farming practices increased, we started giving diclofenac and all sorts of NSAIDs to cattle, just so the older ones are able to work that 1 year extra, able to push through our osteoarthritis. And once these cattle died and vultures started feeding on them, their population started dipping because diclofenac especially is extremely toxic to vultures. And today we are left with only 2% or 3% of vultures in all, and even rarely the king vulture. So what impact this has on the environment? Vultures act as that break where they're able to eat all these putrefying and decaying material and able to digest and kill off all these pathogens at the source. And today, because of this upset between the prey predator and scavenger imbalance, we're seeing a lot of zoonotic diseases. And even COVID, there is a theory that it came from an infected bat. So I felt it was significant to demonstrate this. Thank you.
Not something which was to say, when it's a theory which is put up by somebody.
I get it now.
Yeah, but I don't know how much of it is lodged in what the vulture is. Anyway, what is it?
It was found in the vulture's livers.
Maybe a contributor or may not be a total contributor. That's true. But this is something, this is going to be extinct, is it, like many other species?
Yes.
Man-made disasters. Could be.
So, and the second prize goes to Mr. Sai Purnajita, and the caption is Birds on Fire. Do we have the winner here?
Caption is
Birds on Fire. Fire.
okay.
Anybody who would to see the prize on her behalf? I would request Dr. Medha ma'am to come over here and give the token of respect to the judges. Thank you. First of all, for poetry competition,
Poetry competition. We had this
This is a small manifestation of your willingness to be external. I'm so glad you are encouraging art and art is something, yes, which has a big value. So poetry itself is something which can, I think there was, I don't know how many of they recorded our school days. There used to be a class for poetry when you read about kids, right? And Julie has picked up that now. And then it never used to be very simple to get the exact intended meaning in a poetry. As a student, I used to be wondering that, and we were supposed to kind of write the impressions about the poem, the learning from the poem, and etc. That was what was there in our school days. I don't think that's there anymore.
I don't think in the current educational system there is that deconstruction of poetry. And so our poetry is now very single dimension usually. And I think that is reflected in a lot of everyone stuck very much to the theme.
Oh, they did?
Yes. But there were some who brought in all of these elements. Poetry is all about sound. So the way they work with sound, I found it very effective. Doctors is supposed to have illegible scrawls, but there is a connection with these education. But also remember art and culture as a part of the department. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, the students. Thank you very much for making it. Something not just in its own value, teams and whatever it's commercially with the art. Personally feel like I don't know how many of you agree, but it's a great stress. So it has to be cultivated from young age. Of course, it's never too late. Cultivate that at a point. I've also seen some poetry written. Sounds really fine, because it's a lot about rhyming, right?
Originally and traditionally, lyric poetry is all about rhyming. But today you have these modern poets who are also got assonance, sounds that jangle together. And so when you hear them, it feels a bit discordant. But I think that's true also across art. It's also across theater that, people keep experimenting and finding new ways to shock and impact the audience.
We have a lot of faculty also today. And
that's
also right in coming up.
Oh, yes, no, we had one Kata poem actually.
One of our faculty. Anyway, I've got her. Do you read Kannada?
Very slowly, but I do read Kannada. I labor over it.
I read a poem on some poem. Death. It's not death, it was a little heavy. But I was really used to that kind of a poem. But everything is evolving. There is massive evolution in most arts, including culinary art. Celebrities today are chefs also. So everything is an art. Everything actually what we, when we were undergrads, it was also described that medicine is an art. You all recall? Medicine is an art. Because the way you talk, the way you deal with that is also supposed to be described in an art form. Thank you so much once again. Have a nice week.
Thank you so much.
Maybe we will like
With that, I would like to invite winning poetry winners to please come forward and recite that poetry.
He'll be after the poem.
Yes, after the
okay.
everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you today. So the reason why I named my poem A Tryst with Nature is because when we think of the word tryst, it's usually a romantic rendezvous. And what we see nowadays is the absolute opposite of what's happening, right? With nature and how we abuse every aspect of what we receive. So it was an irony that I tried to introduce in there. So here goes. I stumbled upon an empty glade, blessed with beauty that can never fade. Lush grass with dew on every blade. Foliage so dense, under it a welcoming shade. Beams of light yearned to break this barricade. Amidst this almost heavenly sight, a woman wept with no respite. Her eyes, blue and regal, filled with light. The aura around her exuding power and might. Chaos upon earth it could ignite. Sensing my presence, she looked upon me. In a voice that brought sorrow to my psyche, whispered, "Are you here to witness my misery? Your selfish actions, your thoughts of glee, is it my death you've come to see?" She went on to describe how humankind claimed every inch of her they could find. Nothing would satiate this chauvinistic mind. As skyscrapers rose, green pastures declined. As desire in man grew, compassion for Mother Earth was left behind. Climate change, deforestation, pollution in every sense, desertification, resource depletion, habitat loss in their essence can never be greater force to nature than its human negligence. Callous and aloof, how can we dream of upliftment as long as in us tides apathy, greed, and indifference? Wanting to catch a last glimpse of the glade, I turned to see of what I was most afraid. In its place stood concrete mazes, all man-made. The woman scowled at me. She was betrayed. Her eyes spoke volumes beyond all help we had strayed. In disbelief, closing my eyes, I shed a tear. The fate of nature worse than one could fear. What would I tell my children? That their end was near? Struggling to breathe with not an ounce of cheer, I faced away from the glade. My goal was clear. I was the problem. The issue was me. My ignorance, my lust, my insensitivity. For my future, for all those who will come after me, to a renewed vision I must be. A world that has compassion for others and empathy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pranav. And I now call upon Neha GT. She is the second prize winner for poetry competition.
A very good afternoon to all the dignitaries, staff, and my counterparts present here. So, the theme for the poetry was the environmental issues we're facing today. The main focus of my poem is how the world was before we humans gave in to our greed and how it is now. How the trait of human insatiability and the greediness of I want and not we want is affecting not only our own self, but the people around us, and more importantly, the ill effects it has on our environment. Now I present my poem, Our World. Where is the world where fresh green trees adorn the earth's face and streams of clear water soothe the ground, washing away the sorrows into the deep profound? Where is the world where the bird soared ever higher and never deterred? The animal dwelled in tranquility, leading their life with the vanity. Where is the world where living was free and nature was a blessing received with ease, and not as a resource to be used at the expense of our greed and desire's combat? Where is the world which has not succumbed into the abyss of destruction and drowned in the oceans of self-obsession, never sparing the look towards the loss of to their trailing? This is the world where the trees are cut down to make giant houses for the town, destroying the natural habitats, failing to fathom the aftermaths. This is the world burning with increased temperatures, flooding the lands of many, curbing the thriving of farmers, if any. This is the world, the love for seafoods elating day by day. But the goods of plastic clogs the drains and kills more fish than what the fisherman does to flourish. This is the world whose air is stained, plaguing the generations and keep them restrained. Where the water deemed unfit for drinking, for we humans dispose the waste without blinking. This is the world, the one which has endured our devilry and perhaps will continue to do so until one day decides to stand still. This is the world still persevering and nurturing us despite our wrongdoing. Shouldn't we amend as visions blur and the thoughts unfurl and save the world, our world?
I would like to invite Vishnu Prasad. I'd like to Vishnu Prasad, kindly give the moment who are photography judges as well.
The photography judges were Dr. Nandakumar sir
Dr. Nandakumar
and Dr. Vinay Prabhu.
and
I
Dr.
call
Vinay.
for this. Sir, good sir.
Can I just say something? So the pictures were too good, and also as we like to comment on it. We received around 10 pictures, man. Did they show the pictures?
Yes, the image.
No, but the others were also equally
Others?
good.
We have put a display on the,
Because the last time when we had seen the pictures, we like they were excellent and this is brilliant. So probably in the Nana Vahini, we are having a separate photo corner every month. Yeah, from this month onwards, 4 pictures will be selected from faculty, students. You click it on mobile, you click it on anything, campus and beyond, which is relevant. We are going to feature it as the photo corner of Ramaiah in Gokula Gnana Vahini from this month onwards. The Gokula Gnana Vahini is a monthly journal which the institution brings out. For the last 12 years, we are bringing that small magazine. So we are going to feature as a photo corner for student this thing. Annually, one of the best pictures will be selected and which will be sort of in the Hall of Fame kind of thing. That will be done. And these pictures which sort of like have been shot are amazingly good and probably like just a suggestion. So if you can have categories as mobile pictures and DSLRs, many of the students are into professional, semi-professional photography as well. So if you can get that DSLR images separately, because it will be a huge advantage if the equipment is different. So let's just differentiate it as mobile pictures, no filters, DSLR pictures, no filters with whatever the technical specifications. And we'll just do that. But amazingly good pictures, and thanks for the opportunity to do this. Thank you. Thanks, ma'am.
part of our Surya Prasad sir, program appreciation with the judges. Vinay Prabhu, sir.
Confirm with much. Go down home.
Next.
Now I would like to invite Swasti to announce the best out of waste competition winners. So we'll have Swasti will talk about the best out of waste competition as well.
Very good afternoon, everyone. I'm Swati Shanadra from Technical MBBS. There is nothing as a waste. Whenever we throw away something, it must go somewhere. On that note, I'd like to go ahead with announcing the prizes for the competition Best Out of Waste that was conducted as a part of the World Environment. So the prize for the competition goes to Prakriti Kumar. With this, Dr. Babitha Rajan, please come. Hand over the prize.
What's the product? Huge. Would like Prakriti to explain what product he had actually made out of the waste.
Can you please have me tell everyone about it?
Hello everyone. So I titled what I prepared, one bottle, many uses. So what I prepared first one was a bottle painted with acrylic paints with perfection. So I feel this is something adults would make. Something beautiful, something to de-stress, something aesthetically pleasing. While the second one, again, which is a bottle just painted, was made with a child in mind, what a child would do. So it was prepared with, it was made, it had flowers which had smudged edges, ill-defined borders, and a mother who's witnessing a child doing this, would make her own additions to it. So that's what I did. It had paints, it had additions to it. So this was done with the intention of making it a hobby from the childhood. If we inculcate this practice of making best out of waste from the childhood, we can actually, have a very eco-friendly way of doing it. While we have this competition, a one-time event, we can also turn this into a livelihood, right? So millions of bottles are discarded every year, and if one could collect them and turn it into beautiful art pieces, I think there'll be huge employment generated in India for the same. So yeah, that's it.
All the products whichever the students participate out of best out of waste has been displayed outside. We had 5 participants. So whatever they had taught, they had made a very simple, nice. It's kind of difficult also for the judges to think.
It's always difficult for judges because the participants are so good.
Till she explained the concept behind it, we were just staring in the judges were staring in the room. Once she gave that concept behind it, we were like, yes, there comes the. Thank you, Pradeep.
May I now request Shailaja ma'am to please come up here and present the open conversation to our judges for the competition of Best Out of Waste. The judges for the competition was Ravindra ma'am and
Yuvraj.
Dr. having Dr. Saraff.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Swasti. Now we would like to have a small performance by our first year choir. They're actually going to be singing a song about the environment which they have selected. And we would like to invite them onto the dais. First year choir.
Members, total members.
Slide. Let's leave this.
Tanya, anything more? Next.
Is really over. The echoes just seem to get longer. How did we get here? With so much love and love. All I have is my faith that I can change. Watch this burn, I can watch this burn to the ground. You'd have thought me learn, you'd have thought me I can hear the whole singing together. I can hear the whole sing it's now or never. Cause it's not too late if we change our ways. Take the thoughts to our problems. I can hear the whole sing we're in this together. We're in this together. Take the on the pieces. This is up. See the pause. And now it's time to eat. Sunshine, but the sun is so bright. All I have left is my faith that we can change. I can't watch us lose, I can't watch us lose, but we now. You just taught me learn, you just taught me learn, but I can hear the whole singing together. I can hear the whole sing it's now or never. Cause it's not too late if we change our ways and connect our problems. I can hear the whole sing we're in this together. We're in this together. I can hear the whole world singing together. And I can hear the whole world sing it's now or never. Cause it's not too late if we change our ways and connect our thoughts to our problems. I can hear the whole sing this together, sing this together.
Everyone, I'm Tanya, first year MBBS. So the song we performed today is called In This Together, sung by Ellie Goulding, taken from a documentary called Our Planet. The song stood out to us because it didn't try to sugarcoat the environmental changes we are facing today, like climate change and global warming, and it didn't shy away to state the fact that seeing the rainfall pattern changes, we should have learned by now instead of trying to prove climate change is a hoax. And yet the song calls out on optimism, unity, and faith that we can still restore our planet if we change our ways and work together. We can definitely create a positive impact. Thank you. I'll pass the mic to my friends to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, I'm Yukta. Good afternoon, I'm Niharika. Good afternoon, all. My name is Sai Varshini.
Good afternoon, I'm Shruti. Good afternoon, everybody present here. My name is Aditi.
Good afternoon to everyone present here. I'm Kritika and I'm from birthday.
Good afternoon, I'm Ravindra and we're watching. Are blessed with the best brains. We as humans are blessed with the best brains, and better than that, it's only ours to train. You know what is worse than failing? It's actually never trying. So just put in your honest efforts, and you will realize that it's not all in vain. So we really appreciate first years performing here, and we really want that you perform in the further events organized by Group as well. Thank you. Now, this is
again to the first year choir team. That was really wonderful. I think we can give them all a one more round of applause. And now we have a special chief guest actually, Varun Ravindra. And I would like to introduce him before he gives his talk. Now, Mr. Varun Ravindra is the founder of the founding member and the chief conservator of an organization called Vanantara. It's called Conservation Centered Community. Mr. Varun sir has planted over 40,000 trees, Bangalore itself, and there's over 250 different species. And sir, we are all eagerly awaiting to hear about afforestation. Without any further delay, I'd like to pass them on.
Today. Novel experience for me in many ways. It was as a funny sense of humor because I find myself in front of you today. So thank you for coming and for not behaving like a younger version of myself.
dawned on me just yesterday that we both very similar things. I study landscapes and see how best I can heal them. And you study the human body and see how you can heal it. Both magnificently complex systems and a host to a diversity of life like anything else. The parallels between the two run deeper. It's fascinating that the human body and the earth have such similar percentages of water. And we've always, all of us have come across these powers where you find foods that the cross sections resemble body parts, and surprisingly, those tend to be good for those bodies. It's not hard to see where we all come from. We've all just evolved over millions of years from plants and bacteria. Even today, just barely over 40% of the human body is composed of human cells. The majority of it continues to be fungi. Less human than we could plant and fungi. And over the last decade that I've worked on farming and afforestation, creative practices, I didn't start with the whole phenomenon. What I've come to realize is that part of the problem, or perhaps essentially the vastness of the problem, is the separation that we see between ourselves and nature. That is this concept that there are forest trees, etc. And there's humanity. Whereas we are nature, and we are essentially a part of this system. We're all just cells on this force that we like to call Earth. We're all connected by the land between us. Realize that it's easier to fix the problem because you don't see it. You see yourself as part of the situation. I don't want to be too much of a doomsday predictor here, but just to get a sense of where things stand. Decade had 9 of the hottest years recorded in human history. Every time there has been such drastic changes, it's followed by some kind of mass extinction event. So it's surprising that the world continues to go about when there is a very obviously stark situation facing. The thing about global warming is it isn't as if there is a slow build-up to it. It's happening every second. And I think that's the reason why people don't realize that it's happening. It's up on you constantly. And it's almost like belly fat. It doesn't get distributed evenly across the body. You have some places that have extremes of heat, that have extremes of cold. You don't tend to realize it until you have these cyclone events. Realize there is warming effect. And I'd like to point out, and I think, to some extent, self-selected themselves to be part of this occasion and on that path. But it seems like this problem is greater than all of us, and it is something that global warming is something. Global warming is essentially just a consumption problem. We consume too much, and we consume in a manner that's harmful to the planet. That's all it is. That doesn't serve the space. Everyone has the ability and the power to change those actions and to fix this and reverse it. I'm not going to teach us what we should be doing, but I think it's obvious that we can all do a little better than we were doing. And that's all. As a civilization, as humanity, we would do far more good if we corrected things that we consume than going about planting a few trees and the benefit of changes we make to lifestyle will have a far lasting impact. For our own part, So for our own part, we've gone about what we. There are only 2 carbon sinks. There isn't much we can do. There are folks trying, but it's much problem to solve. Plant trees, and that's
One was to plant traditional lands on the outskirts of the cities. The other one was to plant within the cities. Outskirts of the city. Now becoming a self-sustaining. So just click on the link. So what this space is. But what we've done there is populated 150 different species of trees. The idea was to recreate forest ecosystem there. So we have a diversity of flowering medicinal plants. And essentially this was to allow a host of life to thrive there. It wasn't purely for human consumption. Birds and bees, worms, and the snakes as well. And towards that, I'm keeping the with every afforestation effort, the trend lens has to be what does well in that space and trying to plant what we want and what is it. And there is an abundance of trees within India. I think we're one of the most biologically diverse species in the world. I'm not even exaggerating about that. There are people I've met who and yeah, in fact, they also say that India has a greater diversity than many. So we have an abundance of life here that we can control. We went about it by selecting nature. The great word is so fascinating. The idea of native and alien is also is in our mind. You know, that the Gulmohar tree, which we that's also actually native to Madagascar. It's also the national tree of Madagascar. But if you go back a few thousand years, you realize when the landmass was Gondwana, India and Madagascar were connected. So it's very difficult to understand where the lines are and what's become alien and what's become native. But essentially, what you look to see what does well and what's not harmful. So we began with the premise of planting this spot. And I think began from a very naive idea. I think there was a certain point in time where I felt that human far away from this. They're all essentially dead spaces. Whereas where we came from is living trillions of life that are competing and yet in complete balance. Struck me that we're all energy just vibrating at certain frequencies. It's just a function where you choose to place yourself. So it seems like the madness that we see around us right now is a function of this the space that we've created. And Vanantara was an idea to recreate a natural space that would be in balance and that would serve as home to a community that would then live balanced life in harmony. Again, on this essentially balanced piece, that be the impact on it. The trees, because especially when you work on large spaces, mortality rates are high, which in fact that the afforestation venture which has been made. So the idea is you nurture plant bases. What people don't realize is that the soil is actually alive. It's not this dead living for billions of years. And essentially that is what allows life to flourish. Amongst themselves and with mineral soil is facilitated by treatment. That is unfortunately most of the life. So our effort was to rejuvenate the soil, and we did that by helping add mulch to the soil, and essentially tending to those trees and the area around the soils to ensure that we could help to rejuvenate our nature can thrive in just short. Largely by seeing worms come into the place, so pollinators, different kinds of bees. Then you see tiny birds coming to eat, insects coming to eat the smaller insects, and then coming and feast on the smaller birds. And it's obvious that with a little bit of care, can provide. You know, it's, I think I actually wanted to congratulate the choir with such beautiful job with that song. I think the message of that song was important because our question is there is still more. I've seen it firsthand. While it is a challenging situation, in the realm of possibilities, it is a possibility. Something worth aiming for. So we've seen this ecosystem in many ways, you know, and you see there's a deaf dog interacting with a bunch of donkeys. Able to communicate somehow and have an interaction. So nature continues to fascinate me. So and now the objective here is to try and encourage people who are like-minded to be part of that community, that home as well. Fortunately, the whole idea of work from home for many people is live in a natural space and continue to operate from elsewhere. And that is what Vanantara is. It's a home for a community that would like to be forest dwelling, return to its roots in some way, and yet we also simultaneously began planting extensively in the city in the last few years. It's absurd that we live in a space but expect our water and air to come from kilometers away. It's fundamentally flawed. And the idea was to forest cities with self-sustaining ecosystem. If you look around you, most spaces you find that they're populated with small shrubs and lawns, which are actually of no use. They don't do anything for the environment. They just this shade of green. They don't sequester carbon. They don't channel water. They just pump water. And they require incredible amounts of chemicals to keep them going. Whereas if you have a self-sustaining ecosystem, focuses on sequester carbon. And there is a technique called Miyawaki deforestation, which was pioneered in Japan, which essentially deforests space extremely quickly. What you do is you tend to mimic the forest ecosystem by planting the same diversity. Every forest typically has a canopy tree, some tree, shrub there, different proportions depending on where you are. In South India, we have a larger tree there, and in North India, we have a larger canopy there. So it is based on observation that you need to go about determining these plants. Once you determine the plant species selection, you've essentially created this balanced ecosystem of plant. 4-5 years doesn't need your assistance to thrive. And compared to monocultures, statistics say that they're more dense, they move 10 times as fast, 10 times more biodiverse. And it's interesting when you say just 10x as fast, that means that in 10 years they will do what the forest will take 100 years to do. And that's incredible. Essential for where we are at this point. So I have a few images of to just show spaces can be found. This was a space within a game. That's one of the best places to do this because there's a sense of ownership for people. This belongs to them. Ensure that it stays that way. And this was where we have this mixed groups there. But with a little bit of soil remediation, you put things into the soil. And it's always fascinating to get children and community members involved because once they do and once they've planted the tree, they have a sense of attachment and ownership for the place. So I think you can't underestimate the value of love and kindness. When you plant something with love and kindness, it has this. Anyone who's grown plants or garden knows that. So anything done with good intentions always leaves. So we've planted about 2,500 trees in this space. And this is how it's evolved about 6 months. There are about 20 people. Multiplies, it's so dense that people can't walk in. And especially in cities where you need spaces where habitat which has been displaced needs a place to find. These things serve very well because before we moved in, this was home to birds and snakes and all kinds of animals that no longer have a space when once you plow it out like concrete. So that's primarily what I wanted to talk to you about. This is what we do. We try to follow our work. I continue to feel that while the situation is scary, there's still an opportunity for a lot of work to be done to help alleviate it as long as people are moving. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that really inspiring and wonderful talk. In fact, we learned so much from that. We learned that there are different techniques for reforestation. Also, got noticed the fact that this next 10 years, the next decade, is a very important decade for us. If we manage to make an environmental impact during this next decade, we are succeeding. If not, it's going to become, we still have hope, like you mentioned, but it'll become more difficult. I think Manipur Club will definitely be giving your advice, because we're also planning on having a mini forest within Ramaiah itself, our own mini reforestation. So we will be. Actually, the topic of appreciation, I would like to invite Babitha Rajan to hand over the topic of appreciation.
Not so much, right? Thank you very much for accepting it.
Thank you, Minister. Now I would like to invite Medha for closing remarks. Once she interested presence.
First and foremost, in spite of the fact that it's on a Saturday afternoon, where I'd love to stay cozy at home, I decided I'm going to be here because I'm also as crazy as Varun is about nature. And if you're wondering why ma'am is taking the liberty to call a chief guest by name, first name, without it saying Mr. Varun, I see Varun as a small boy. And he's grown fantastically because all the more he's into nature. Give him a big hand. What amazing work he's doing, and he has of 80,000 trees planted. It really, I can't even imagine what energy he had to get to do all these things against so many odds. I can imagine the odds he would have faced. But really, on that count, a very, very big congratulations to you, Varun. It's not just about the knowledge which we give us. He enlightened us on so many issues about what actually is happening in nature and kind of things. But I think it was very stimulating to listen to him. Beautiful pictures. And it really stimulates one to develop a newfounded love for nature. At least I'm crazy about nature, yes, but I think I'm little more infused with this enthusiasm. Thanks, Varun, on that count. And I'm sure all of you also feel the same. And I really think Varun will always remain our invited member to the Eco Club. Because there's so much to share then you can share with our young people. Actually, I don't want to say anything about the beauty of nature, the love of nature, advantages, and what cruel things are happening which the humans are doing to nature. I don't want to say any of those things. I just want to share. You know, in the morning deliberation, couple of them used the word, it was man's greed, which is now kind of destroying nature. Man's greed for a lot of things. But I'm not very different. I'm also a very greedy human being. The difference is I'm very greedy about owning plants. You know, I'm so greedy. I don't have much space, but still I want many plants to be around my house, as many as I can pack indoors. And every time a plant withers indoors, then that's a very sad day for me. So I'm also greedy about plants, and I think it will take you very far in life if you try to satisfy that greed, because it's very de-stressing. Amongst us, we also have another crazy nature lover, Dr. Vinay Martin, as I know. He's also very crazy, but he's very successful, more successful than me. He spends more time taking care of his plants, as I know. Am I right? So I think we've had a wonderful time celebrating this environment. I really love to hear all the youngsters talking nice things. There's a lot of knowledge, but I want every one of you to be in action to preserve whatever green we have and take his help to see how we can make it greener. Make it greener. Green just doesn't mean that there's a green color around us and the plants, but there are so many other healthy things which you can do. Right? So keep in touch with Mr. Varun is what I'm telling all the youngsters. And I think we do. I mean, it should be a unique kind of a medical college campus where people enter and they get a soothing feeling. Chalo, that's said, there's something awaiting. Shalini, there's some lunch for everybody. Only for the kids, give it to the kids also. Okay, so all of you just have a nice weekend. And thank you so much, Varun, on everybody's behalf. I was quite excited when they told me Varun is coming. At least in the end, let me say Mr. Varun is coming. Thanks all of you. Have a nice weekend.
We can stand for a minute and sing a national anthem.
Please join us for lunch.